He's a little peculiar about it, you know what I mean? Come on up here, I'll show you where we're at. Run over on that side over there, again. Well, okay, I'm here today with Jimmy Dickens. Jimmy Dickens and I have been friends for longer than I can remember, probably not longer than he can remember. But I'm telling you, we were both young.
Very.
And you're still pretty young, but it seems like I've aged. I've not aged like wine, I aged like cheese. Okay, after that you left out. But it's good to have you here today, and just sharing with Jimmy. This is something that a lot of people will not be able to appreciate, okay? This shed is 8 foot wide, 12 foot long. The program is called Just From The Shed. Okay? All right? Now, Jimmy and I have both worked with television for years. And we're used to a whole different studio, right?
Yep.
I'm telling you, everything just right, okay? The sound just right. The soundboard set just right. The backdrop just right. Everything. The cameras, Lord, what the cameras we've run through, okay?
Yeah.
And technology now has changed things so much that we can do things so much simpler.
Yeah.
I can carry what I do in a plastic bag under my arm and keep 2 folding chairs and do things that used to, it took us $30,000 worth of equipment to do.
At least or more.
Yeah.
Lighting and cameras and swishers. Yeah.
But, and my mom keeps telling me I ought to straighten this up. She keeps looking at the back wall. I said, no, here's my sponsor. No, not just kidding. They ain't my sponsor. If you'd like to be, it's okay. But anyway, she said, I said, no, I'm not straightening up. I straightened up good enough. And I knew when you come in and seen all this stuff, I said, Jimmy Dickens will be excited when he sees all these tools hanging up and everything in place. And I mean, I keep her, Jimmy, I keep it all. I'm getting ready today. I got ideas today I'm going to work on after you and I are done that I want to fix and stuff I want to do. And I got little things I want to do. I just done a program a minute ago and done some things for TikTok. And it was some motivational things and it was life hacks. And I use that blue tape like a monster. And all of us got it laying around. After you paint, you'll have that old roll of blue tape, and you always buy another one when you get ready to tape.
Yep.
And I started taking that, and I keep my markers and pencils, black magic marker, and when I put something in a box, I write on it, CB radio, or 100-foot ruler. Because here's the deal. How many times do you use that 100-foot ruler? Maybe 4 times in your life. But you can't never find it.
Yeah. And then you go buy one.
Yeah.
I've done that many times.
Yeah, you'll go buy. I got a 200-foot ruler on this side, a 100-foot ruler on that side, and I keep that stuff. And then I got another tote that says hardware and sprays. Okay, it's full of bug sprays, hinges, door latches, doorknobs. Okay. Because what happens is you collect that stuff as you get older, all right?
Yeah.
And you'll have it, but it's no good if you can't get to it.
Okay?
And I said, I'm going to fix this stuff as I go along, and I'm tired of it. And also, when I die, it'll be easy for them to sell because they can get to everything. I thought the kids will be able to come in and say, this is worth $3, and they'll be able to set it all out in the yard.
Michelle would just buy this whole building. She'd buy the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just move building. And
that's smart. See, she's a thinker.
Yeah, she would. She'd love a place like this. Oh, man.
And I can't explain it to people till they come in. But I love watching them. You should have seen Lawrence. He come in. He looked at Lawrence Hayes was here yesterday, and Mickey Hale was here last night. Me and Mickey was in here till after dark. It was raining. We still in here talking forever. But I mean, they come in and get to look and all that stuff, And I don't know. It's a world of stuff. But I try to always think of how can I tighten it up a little bit. Now down here, you ought to see what I got down here. I'll show you that before we leave. I take all my batteries back out of stuff in the wintertime, okay?
Yeah.
And I bring them in here and put them up. And I've got a solar trickle charger. I got a solar panel on the outside of the building with a regulator, and it comes in, hooks into I hook those batteries in series,
Okay.
and I let it sit there on charge and keep them batteries up.
Wow.
And then I got to where I ride on. These are John Colson's batteries for his little cars outside. I bring them in, and I ride on them. Like this one's not real good, so I put so-so. The ones that are good, I write blue tape and write good. And when I got in a battery like this, I said, this could be bad. I charge it a time or two, and I write on, could be bad. Because you ever pick something up and you think, is that bad? Or is that not working? What is that? So I write, so I can understand it, could be bad.
Wow.
But I don't know.
Awesome.
I just
Awesome.
try to do stuff. I think being this is a lot like your life. I mean, you know what I mean? You can have all kinds of things in your life, but if you can't get to those tools, those things in your life, it can just be all jumbled up.
That's right.
Jim, when we think about stuff, let's talk about something. Where did you grow up at?
Dry Fork.
Uh-huh.
Grew up on Dry Fork. Started out at Lincoln School. Went there first through the third grade.
Okay.
And then they built Rivermont School, and I went from Rivermont then from third to the seventh.
All right.
And they moved me in the middle of the year because I wasn't exactly a real good child. I was very mischievous.
I can't believe that.
Very mischievous. I got paddling just about every day.
Right.
And then my mama found out about it, and I get one at home too, And so I lived a pretty rough life. but yeah, I grew up on Dry Fork.
Right.
And went to Tazewell High School. Graduated in 1964. Tazewell High School.
Good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And then I had some. I went 2 years to Bible college in Newport Richey, Florida, Light of the World Tabernacle. Yeah. And that's where I got my license and ordination and to preach the gospel.
Right.
And then I got a bachelor's degree from More Than Conquerors Bible Institute of Theology, Dr. David Ford. Later on, that was probably about 20 years ago. Yeah.
Well, it seemed like a big gap, though, between getting kicked out of school and going to Bible college. I don't know. I ain't real good with numbers, okay? I never have been good with numbers, but I'm thinking there's a big old gap in there. Yeah. Did you just stay in the mountains and pray all that time from you as a little boy till you went to Bible college? Or?
No, not really. I was a pretty mean fellow for a long time.
Right.
They asked me about when I was in the hospital. They said, "Well, you look real good to be your age." And I said, "Well, the first 30-some years of my life, I didn't take good care of myself, but the last 50, I've taken good care of myself. When I was 30, I just did what a sinner does, all them things, you know."
Right. Yeah.
That are not good or bad.
Right. Absolutely.
And then Jesus forgave me all of that one day at the altar, and we started going another direction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I think and there is a lot of there's life is a journey in it.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we have stuff that happens. We go through things, and man, I'm rough around the edges, and still am a little bit. You know what I mean? And I know that. But, I mean, I tell the Lord, He picked me. It's up to Him. I mean, if He wanted somebody different, He should have picked somebody different. I'm just the way it is. And when I think about your life and the things you've been through and the things you've experienced, I mean, see, I believe this is what this program's about, okay? This is about, I believe there's people like you that are treasures in these mountains that have wisdom, knowledge, and life that you can't get in a book, okay? But it needs to be in the heart of one person somewhere, one person, and I think that's how simple this is.
Right.
And the life you've come through, and the things you've been through, they're important. Where you're at now, this is the journey, and I think about that, man. That's a life growing up.
Yeah. I've had preachers ask me if I was sanctified. I said, well, yeah, just in spots.
I've repeated the same thing.
He's still working on me. I mean,
sir.
you boys already got it, but he's still working on me.
Right.
In spots. Yeah.
Right.
So, but, it's a journey.
Yes, sir. And it's all right. You know, I mean, we're okay. We make it. You made it. And, man, I think about that. You've done good.
Well, God's been real good to me. We've had a few health issues along the way, but Jesus is my healer.
Yes, sir.
And He's everything.
Yeah.
He's my financer. You know, he takes care of my body, he takes care of my monies, he takes care of my family.
Yeah.
And he's been really good to me and my family.
Yeah. Well, I think, all right, Jim, when we think about things, okay, when you think about memories growing up, okay, I mean, you grew up in a different time, okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
There was a different time that you grew up in. And what are some memories that stand out that you grew up, that you thought of growing up?
That really stands out.
Yes, sir.
I was raised up on a mountain farm, and of course we always had plenty to eat. Raised our own gardens and had milk and butter and had chickens and cows, and I always had plenty to eat.
Yeah.
And of course I went to school, but all my parents, my father and Mama separated when I was real small. I think about 18 months old. Mom and I lived with my grandparents. And one aunt, an RA, and my grandparents. I lived on the mountain. And of course we worked, and I won't say real hard, but we had done plenty of work, you know, take care of the garden and get food and everything, chores. And but that was very good. But one thing that stand out, I can't.
Did you garden?
Yeah, we gardened, raised garden stuff. Yeah. I guess the best thing that stands out to me is whenever I was old enough to get a shotgun, I got a Model 37 Winchester 410, and I think I got it for Christmas or something. And I'd squirrel hunt and I'd rabbit hunt, and first time I ever saw a bear was up on top of a mountain, and I jumped a bear, and he went one way, and I ran all the way to the house. Never fired a shot. And, and I was huffing and puffing and telling about that bear I'd run into.
Right.
But he was scared as I was.
Yeah.
But it was a good life.
Yeah.
Had a lot of people to visit on Sundays. We'd have dinners at the house, and a lot of kinfolk would come in, you know.
Right.
And people would come and visit. Some people would come and stay for a week.
Right.
Come and stay for a weekend. And of course, at a church, my folks, Primitive Baptist Church, and we'd have preachers come and stay with us, and for the weekend a lot of times, and eat dinner. It was a good life.
Yeah.
Laid back. Yeah.
Right. It seemed a little bit slower than what it is now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. We didn't really have no television until I was up, I guess, in my teens. We didn't have television growing up. Had radio. Listen to the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday night.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And those things. And news, listen to news all the time.
Right.
Yeah. But it was good.
Yeah, you know, I that's something you think about, the memories that you had and the things that you went through. There's memories. What about sleigh riding? Did you sleigh ride when you was young?
Some.
They probably watched over you pretty hard. You being that golden child there with all them women around you. They probably wouldn't let you do stuff like that.
We had wagons. We'd ride wagons on the hillside.
Right.
And have a few wrecks on those. And,
right.
Yeah. Did those, yeah.
I remember when it come out, we started getting a wagon. Man, we'd get a wagon, we'd ride it till the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
There'd be nothing left of it.
Yeah. That's the way we'd do, to get another one, do the same thing.
Yeah. We used to build buggies all the time. We had an asphalt hill there at my house called Beach Hill. We'd build a buggy. You know, we'd get us an axle. We'd get us some wheels off of a wagon. Or, I mean, nobody's lawnmower was safe. If we caught your lawnmower, we'd jerk the wheels off of it. Baby carriage, lawnmowers, we'd steal the wheels and put them on them buggies. Ride them till the wheels fell off. You know, that was a big thing. But to think about those times growing up, it's lower the memories that stand out in your mind, and the love that you had, people had for you.
Oh yeah.
And they loved you.
Yeah.
They really did.
There was a lot of love in the family, you know.
Yeah.
And kin folks, there was a lot of love, you know. When some of the stuff we have today.
Yeah.
Where the Bible says it calls iniquity abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Right.
And it's one of the latter day signs of the end times, and we can see that all over the world.
Yeah, the pressure. There's such a pressure, it seems like now, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, versus when you grew up.
Oh yeah.
There's a pressure there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think about that. I think about that a lot of times. The pressures that are really out there that we go through with those things. Well, as talking about growing up, let's talk about challenges as a young boy. I mean, you know, when you grew up there on the mountain, or you grew up on Dry Fork, were there any challenges? I mean, anything as a young boy that were different from somebody else growing up in New York City? I mean, or was there anything different?
I'd say there was a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right?
There was a lot, you know. We grew up together and played ball together, and did things together. I know as growing up as a young boy, everybody had a BB gun.
Yeah.
And we'd play real cowboys and Indians. And,
right.
And my parents told me if I ever shot anybody, they'd take my BB gun away.
Right.
And of course, I shot a boy playing cowboy. We'd choose up sides.
Right.
And I shot a boy, and he went home squalling.
A tattletale.
And I hid my BB gun in a fodder shock where he shot fodder out in the field.
Yeah.
I hid it in one of those for a long time so they wouldn't get it, you know.
Yeah.
And found it there after they kind of forgot about it, wore off. I pulled it back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've all shot a few people with a Red Ryder BB gun. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've got one in the house I keep. Red Ryder BB gun. I got one that's just cocked one time. I don't like them ones, and I know you got them. You've used them up on the hill. Up on the hill.
Oh, yeah.
I like them you cock one time. And I went over on the hillside over there, and I got me a couple pans screwed into a trees, and I shoot from the porch. I'll sit there. We sit and shoot over against the hillside. Once I hit it, I put it up. I said I've accomplished all I've come to do, you know. And I tried every day. I had my son-in-law out there one day in the yard, and I had him pinned down. He couldn't get around. I kept shooting at him every time he'd go to move. I'd shoot at him, you know, keep him moving. You know, he was squalling, trying to stay out of the way. I figured it won't hurt him that bad. But you think about those things.
If you're a long ways off, it don't hurt too bad. But if you're close now the older BB guns,
right?
They had more power than these new ones.
Right.
Yeah. I remember one in the community had a pump BB gun, and
man.
you kill squirrels.
Those things, I don't like them.
Yeah.
My kids always want to get me one like that, and I said, I don't want it. I want it to pump at one time. Because you can shoot that Red Ryder, and you can see the BB.
Yeah.
You can see it when he gets way out there, can't you?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
I like that. I don't want to have, and I've got shotguns and things that I don't shoot a whole lot, but I think about but you think about the challenges that you had, you know, up in the mountains, and friends, people close to you. Excuse me. You know, it was different, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a different life.
It was different than what kids face nowadays.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, kids face some different things nowadays that we didn't face then. I believe the pressure. There's just a lot of pressure, it seems like, on kids nowadays. I don't know. I see them. All right, Jim, we talk about changes, okay, and growing up. When you think about the church, what kind of changes have you seen in the church? Excuse me.
Well, there was more prayer, I believe, then than there is now. I remember when we used to have revivals in the community. You could go up the road and you could hear people in the barn praying. You hear people in the house praying for revival, and a lot of people get saved. And I remember one revival we had, and they said, everybody is singing that song, Lord, lay some soul upon my heart and love that soul through me, and may I willfully do my part to win that soul for thee. And everybody in the church would take a person and pray for them there all week.
Right.
And I prayed for a man, and just about all week. And finally, toward the latter part of the week, he come to church.
Yeah.
And he gave his life to Jesus. And to me, that really made an impression on me that prayer works.
Yes, sir.
And the prayer of faith, of course, will save the sick, and we know that, and you do that today.
Yeah.
And pray for people. But to see God to answer prayer.
Yeah.
And the church would grow back then because the people would be saved in revival.
Yes, sir.
Sinners come to church back then, but anymore, very few sinners come to church.
Yeah.
And it seems like the revivals that I hold now, there'll be people that come. And we've seen people saved, people healed, signs, wonders, and miracles happen.
Right.
And people come to know the Lord. Going forward a little bit, I did a revival in New York at a Nazarene church probably 25 years ago, upstate New York, about 25 years ago, I guess. And there was a whole family of witches Coven of Witches got saved in that revival.
Man.
And they came, and one came, and then they came back and bring the others, and they were saved in that revival. I think there's about 26 people saved in that revival that they baptized, and that wasn't all of it, really. Yeah.
Man.
And but that was one of the. And I've had more things to happen all over since this. I've been ministering. This year is 46 years.
Man.
Since Michelle and I have been married, and we've been ministering the gospel. Then I played gospel music and traveled with gospel groups 6 years before that.
Yeah. So you think the changes, why do you think the changes that we're facing now, and there's always changes. There's changes from the beginning to the generation when you and I grew up, but there's always changes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to attribute the changes that we see now to. I know we're in a fast-paced world, okay? Information now is pow, 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 okay? The transfer of information is just a big thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to attribute the changes to.
I think one thing that I've seen ministering in some third world countries, here there's more things to do.
Okay.
There's more things to do, especially people who've got kids. There are things that they're doing, they're involved with.
Yeah.
And there's just more things that takes time. Now, in some third world countries, they don't have a lot of other things to do.
Right.
And some of them don't even have cars, and they walk long ways to church.
Yes, sir.
To service. And you'll have bigger crowds because of that.
Yeah.
They don't have all these things to do.
You know, and I think that choice, like you're talking about in people's life, does have a lot to do with it. I mean, it's like, I've shared this before. When it comes to preaching on television, okay, if you're on television, you're ministering. I've told people before, I said, you understand nobody's watching you that doesn't want to watch you. They have 150 other choices, channels they could be watching.
That's right.
So you understand that now if you have a revival, for example, if you go somewhere to revival, you're going to preach over here and have a revival, and 100 people show up. 50 of them didn't even know you were going to be there. Okay, so that leaves 50 that did know you were going to be there. Those 50, 25 of them just soon you wasn't going to be there because they wanted to do something else, but they didn't want the pastor mad at them. So we're down to 25 people, okay, that really want to hear what you got to say. And you've got to pick those people out and begin to minister to those people. Yeah. But I think sometimes that there's people that the choices, like you're saying, the big change that I see in the world and in ministry today, and there's some things that, the things I've seen that the success is you can't fight those things. It's like running around saying, I'm not going to drive a car. I'm going to keep my horse and buggy. You got to embrace some things, and I think, and go with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answers to it all. But I do know I've seen that happen, like you're talking about, a lot of changes in the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's people haven't changed, but the whole way we're sharing, and it used to be a time when we'd oil somebody up and cast the devil out of them. Now we counsel them, and now we have a class for them. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm saying it's different, isn't it? It just seems different. Yeah.
We still cast out devils and heal the sick.
Right.
I still, and a person needs to be delivered. They come and hear the word, and I do my best to get them set free.
Yes, sir.
And I've seen this happen over and over and over again.
Right. But I really believe, Jim, that the ministry is when we think about the ministers when we think about the Oral Roberts and the Billy Graham and the A. Churcher Hall, when I think about those ministries and the lives they touched, and the solid word that they had was, I don't know, and it doesn't. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying it's different. There's just a difference. There is a difference, and that you can say there's a difference without it being bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference, and without it being a bad difference. I mean, I know that. All right, so we talked about some good stuff, okay? But let's talk about something. Let's talk about marriage. You are married. I thought I heard you mention that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and to a young lady. Who? Tell me about that.
Well, I was I was playing with I was a bass player for the Breedings gospel group out of Richland. We had a big bus, and we went to Florida and played a place called Ride the World Tabernacle. Okay. And Michelle, my wife, was the teacher there in the Christian school. That's where we met. And then we began to correspond with phone and letters and stuff. And then our group decided to move to Florida so we could operate out of there year-round without the weather being bad or whatever.
Okay.
And so we began to have a relationship, and we got married in 1978.
Okay.
And that's where I went to Bible school, same place, and I had got a license and an ordination, and I still carry those papers today. And that was this year was 46 years ago. And I'm still in fellowship with them. Yeah.
Well, and I've met Michelle, okay? And, I mean, I don't know how you tricked her into marrying you. I mean, it had to be something. See, I'm a firm believer there had to be something there but where you sold cars that appeared in your life, I can see where you could have hustled her. And tell her how sweet you were. But I've seen pictures of you then, and it could have been the afro. I remember I've seen the picture. I mean, that could have been the attraction.
She had me to do that afro when we got married, yeah.
That was a cool picture. I've seen that. Yeah. I've seen that. And I tell you what, she's sharp. Michelle she is smart. I can tell she knows what's going on.
She is. She's an awesome lady. Yeah. But one time we were dating, I took her out and I told her, I said, you need to probably find somebody else. I said, I'm too rough around the edges for anybody. Of course, I was saved, full of the Holy Ghost, called preach and all that. But I said, I'm really too rough for someone like you. And she said, if you're good enough for Jesus, you're good enough for me. Yeah. And that broke me. I didn't have nowhere to go. Yeah. So,
yeah. But you think subconsciously what you were doing, that's a pretty good sale, what you did? Now, honey, you're so much better than me. Yeah. I like that. That was good. Yeah. You really, because she's a sharp. She's sharp, and she always has been. She's on top of things, and big help in everything you've ever done.
So raised 4 girls and did an awesome job with them. And, she's such a awesome person. Yeah.
I tried to stay out of the way a lot in marriage and let my wife raise our children. And I knew she would do a good job. And I stayed out of the way a lot. She tells me that all the time. When I would travel and come back home, she didn't really like for me to be home long because she said I caused too much confusion in the house. And she would say, don't you have some place to go preach? Something you could go do. But if you were talking about marriage to somebody today, okay, and you wanted to give them some advice on marriage because you had a good marriage, you've got a good marriage. And good. See, there's people out there. You and I both know you can be set in course and things can be. But if you could give advice today on marriage, what would you say?
Well, it's a two-way street, and you got to be a good listener and understand where they're at. And even though the man is the head of the house, you don't really need to be the dominant force all the time. You need to take advice and listen to what they have to say, and their cares and their concerns, and work with that. Yeah, and keep it together. It's something you work with.
Yes, sir.
And the worst problem we ever have, Michelle and I had, has been me aggravating her. Or that's been the worst problem.
Well, here's the deal, and I ask you about gardening. Okay, if you ever garden much, things like that, because there was a rumor one time that you had a garden and there was some plowing going on. Okay, and I'm just saying it's a rumor. I don't know if it's a rumor because I don't spread a rumor unless it builds my reputation and helps me. But I think because that's the Christian way. Yeah. But I mean that there was some plowing going on in a garden, and Michelle was pulling the plow, which is very chauvinistic of you. Okay, she was pulling the plow. And you were throwing rocks at her, telling her to hee-haw or to go fast. Or what? Let's clear this up, okay? Because I don't want rumors spread that aren't true.
I was plowing first, and she couldn't keep it in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said I was going too fast. We was furring off, really, what we was doing, furring off plow.
Okay.
And so she said, let me do it. And so I said, okay. And so I was burned down on the plow.
Right.
You know, of course, it didn't go over too good. And then she said, there's a fly bothering me. And I said, must be a horse fly. And I had to run for the house. She was throwing clods and whatever. And I said it was a horse fly.
Yeah.
And so I had to head to the house.
Yeah, I can see where it wouldn't go over. I can see where that would make it could be a real problem.
That's been all the problems we ever had. Is something that I say or something.
Yeah.
I just seem like I have. The girl says I have anointing for it, you know.
The Lord told me one time, one of the few gifts I've got, He said, son, if it seems like somebody's got a bad spot, you'll seem to rub it. Okay? I mean, I was having a little issue with somebody. He said, it seems like they've got a bad spot, you'll find a way to rub it. And I've tried to do a little better since then. Not tried real hard, but I've tried to do better. But I think do you find that in marriage, does Michelle talk right after you talk? See, I'm running into that lately with Janice. Like when I'm sharing something, as soon as I stop talking, she jumps in and gives me advice. And I told her, I said, I don't really want any advice. I don't want, but she'll jump right in there, pow, you know. Or if I'm telling a good story, okay, and I've added a little salt and pepper to it, you know, and I've got it sounding really good. As soon as I'm done talking, she'll say, no, now that wasn't on a Friday, it was on a Thursday. And you had a blue shirt on, not a black shirt, you know. And I said, you know, I don't know where this all started at in our relationship that you jump in and talk right after that. I said, there should be like a 5-minute rule when I'm done talking. Wait, and she didn't like that either. but that might be why I'm in the shed. It could be, you know, think about stuff. Yeah. All right, so we've talked about marriage, and that's all good. Let's talk about cooking, okay? I know you like to cook, and you've inspired me. You like to cook, okay? What do you like to cook?
Grill. I do hamburgers, hot dogs, steak, chicken. Right. In grease, I do fish, turkeys, fried turkeys. Yeah.
You do them in that cooker, or how do you do a turkey?
Yeah, I've got a couple stainless steel fryers that I do my fish in, and also I do my turkey in.
Right.
No, I don't do one every year. It just depends on how we have company or whatever. You know.
Right.
But, yeah.
I know you like to cook. Yeah. I know that we've talked a lot about it. And fish. Then, Mike, you do good at fish. I'm not as good at steaks as I would like to be. My son does good, and my grandson can cook a good steak. But somehow I don't. I think because I just don't time it. I just put it on and watch it. I think that's where I miss it. I think I've talked to a lot of ministers and pastors that like to cook. So I was thinking about why you, and I love to study on things like that. Why do you find a lot of pastors like to cook? And this is what I come up with, and I've shared this recently. There's a feeling of completion when I cook. Okay, I see a start, a middle, and a finish. I see people eat it. I see it when I go to the food line. I pick it up and put it in my buggy, and I bring it on home, and I get it out on the counter, and I start opening cans, and I start doing stuff. I see it all happening. Then I see it after I put it in the oven, and I see it finish. In ministry, in pastoring or evangelizing or whatever, you'd never see a finish because it never stops. You never can step up one day as you pastor a church and say, hey, it's okay, everybody's saved, we can shut down. Okay? And that feeling of completion in people's lives. And that's what I get out of cooking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I love to feed people. And in ministry, you're feeding people. You're feeding them a word.
Right.
And I love to feed people food.
Yeah.
And just see them eat and enjoy. And I've got a son-in-law, Sarah's husband. I just love to cook for him. Right. He just loves good food, and I do too. Right. And I really get enjoyment out of feeding people. And I did just here recently. Sarah volunteered me at the East River Church. He was having a meeting with volunteers and staff and stuff, everybody. And they wanted somebody kind of from the outside to cook. So
Right.
the people who usually do the cooking in the church wouldn't have to cook.
Right.
And Sarah volunteered me.
Okay.
So I had to do hamburgers and hot dogs
Right.
and whatever. And but I enjoyed that. There was about 30 people, but
Right.
I really enjoyed doing that, you know. And I guess the biggest thing cooking I ever did, I did for the Dickens family reunion several years ago.
Okay.
And there were several people there, and we run 2 cookers, and I think Melvin helped me on that, and my
Right.
daughter Angel.
Right.
And Michelle, I think she done Hush Puppies. We had another cooker for that. But yeah, I think we had about 3 at least cookers running at the same time. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Probably fish.
That's what I was thinking fish,
Fish
because I
and
know
shrimp.
you're always talking about cooking
Yeah.
fish. You always talk about doing
yeah.
fish.
Yeah. Yeah, fish. And,
You don't bake it too. You deep fry it, don't you?
oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah, I know you didn't bake
And
it.
grease and all
Yeah.
that, yeah. And I just recently found some real good batter mix, and also a good fish mix that I use,
Yeah.
and which has changed things quite a bit and more like restaurant style.
I enjoy,
better.
I enjoy cooking. I do a lot of different meals. And tonight I'm doing chicken thighs. I'm doing a garlic buttered chicken thighs. I'm doing those because Janice likes chicken thighs. I'm not a chicken thigh fan, but she is. So she adjusts my attitude, and I have to go in a little while to get chicken thighs and broccoli. And I'm gonna do some broccoli and street corn. And then what I found, what I try to do now, of course, I try to cook in smaller portions. Because I tend to make too much.
That's
Okay, and I've been trying to discipline myself to cook in small portions. One thing I found I went to Walmart and I bought a 2-quart crock pot, a little one, and what I can put in there, and I'll take a half of a roast and put in there, and cut up 1 potato and a few carrots and a little bit of onions, and whatever I can put in there, I feel like is enough, because you can make. Last night I made a casserole. A cowboy cornbread casserole, but I mean we couldn't eat but half of it, but I couldn't cut the recipe down any smaller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a challenge, because I found there's a lot of people that live at home and stuff that don't want to make a big meal. You don't want to make a big meal. Yeah. So I figured we got to find some way that we can make a small meal. And I've shared a lot with people, and they talk about, because what I tell in the morning, sometimes I'll take that 2-quart and I'll put a little bit of butter and just a teaspoon of broth in it, and I'll cut up a potato and put it in that little crock pot. You know what I mean? Just put that potato in there and leave it. And I come back, put it on low, and come back that evening. It's just nice, and it's done, and it's ready.
Wow.
And I use a lot more, and I've had a buddy of mine too that think me I'm crazy, but I use a lot more frozen vegetables than I used to use a lot of fresh stuff. But now I use some frozen green beans and some frozen corn, because I found it goes bad on me. You know what I mean? Even broccoli, I use a lot of frozen broccoli because it seems to go bad. Right. But I haven't cooked fish. I tell you, I never cooked fish. I want to, and I look at it, and I think about it, and I go to the food line, and I look at it when it's on sale, and they have it already seasoned in those little packages, and I say, man, I'd like to try that, but I just haven't got bold enough.
I do most of my cooking now. They won't let me cook in the house.
Right.
Because I make too big a mess,
Right.
Michelle says. But I have to do mine on the grill. I got
Right.
2 grills. I got a Blackstone and I got a regular grill. And but I have to do mine on the outside.
Yeah.
And bring it in the house.
Well, the other day I done something. I had a catastrophe, okay? But we were at the races, and we were on the road. We were in Hickory, I believe, where we were anyway. So I was going to do deep fried banana peppers. Okay, so I floured them up, buttered them all up, but I carry with me one of those little butane single eye with me all the time.
Yeah.
And then I keep it with me all the time, and so I just sit it outside on the table and put my oil in my pan and done that. They were terrible. They just didn't work. They just all the batter come off of them. When I put them in to fry them, they were terrible. It was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it different as I go along. I'm gonna cook them different. All right. So we talked about important stuff, but now let's talk about this. Let's talk about what makes Jimmy Dickens happy. Okay? Because what we have is, and there's things that we can say, and I understand if it is, it's okay. But I know we can talk about different things that make us happy, but it's hard as men sometimes to look in our life and say, because we're family oriented, what makes us happy? We can say, I'm happy when my children are happy, or I'm happy when my wife is happy, or I'm happy when people come to the Lord. I understand all that. But there's something that makes you happy. If I said, tomorrow, Jimmy, let's just do what makes you happy. And I know we can say this, and I'm gonna drill in just a little bit, okay? I'm not talking about in preacher mode. And I know that's hard, because that is your life. But outside of those things, if I said, what do you want to do with it tomorrow? If you could do this, what do you want to do?
Probably have all my family together.
Right.
All my family together and do something together with them. And probably do grilling of steaks or steaks or fish or something like that.
All right.
And probably the happiest mode that really makes me happy is when I do a meeting and signs, wonders, and miracles happen. People's lives are changed. That's when I rejoice more than I guess about anything.
Right.
That's probably one of the happiest spots. And I see an addict, an alcoholic,
Yes, sir.
their lives have changed forever. It just as what song says, it's joy unspeakable and full of glory.
Yes, sir.
It's just absolutely that's the high point of my life.
Yeah.
But my family, to have all my family together, and sometimes very seldom we do that about once a year. We can do that, and that's probably one of the best.
You got to make that happen, no, don't you?
Absolutely.
You got to get them together. You have to make that happen.
Yeah. And and like I said again, I love to cook whatever,
Yeah.
And
you seem to like brush hogging too.
oh, yeah.
See, I mean, I sort of know some things that you like.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you enjoy brush hogging tremendously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've got
cleaning up property.
I've got enough property I have to brush hog.
Yeah.
And
Cleaning up property and making it look good.
Yeah.
And things like that, and that's a big deal, man.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that.
I think what you do, you find completion in it too, don't you? When you probably never get that mountain brush hog, but I mean, you find when you do part of it, you find yourself feeling like you've accomplished something, done something.
I do. Yeah.
I think that's I don't know. I think it's important that we have some things we enjoy doing. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy. I don't know. At this point in life, I really enjoy organizing stuff. I've got to where I don't know if it's where I'm getting a little crazy or what, but I enjoy organizing stuff.
You did a great job.
I just, like, for example, I'll show you those sawhorses. I just done that yesterday, okay? They've been hanging here on nails on the wall, okay? But here's the deal. I got thinking about it, and I said, I want to think of a way to do that right. Okay, so I cut all that and put it all in there together. Man, I was just tickled to death. So I hollered for Janice. I said, honey, you got to come see this. I said, I want you to see what I've done that I feel so good about. But I told her, I said, now here's the deal, because she loves organization too. I said, when you see this and you come out here, I said, you're going to get all giggly like you did when we first met. And I said, you're going to want to smooch on me. But I've got some interviews I got to do. I got Mickey Hale and Lawrence I got to speak on. And I don't want to be smooched on all over and get my clothes all ruffled up. I just want you to look at it and giggle a little bit and go back in. She come out and she said, you're exactly right. I feel just like you said I would feel. And she was all good. She just loved it, okay? It made her happy.
I got to have a picture or two of this before I go, because I want to show that Michelle won't believe this. She will not believe this.
But I found the stuff I like doing, it makes me happy. You know what I mean? And I crawl all up under my vehicle, my camper out here. I lay down on my back and crawl all up under to every wire. I put back in sleeving. I put it back in sleeving and I hang it up and zip tie, pull everything up. They leave a mess when you buy that stuff. It was wires hanging, looked like a spider's nest. But I lay on my back and I crawl up under it and I just take every wire and hang it up, zip tie it, tape it, fix it, shorten it if it needs to be shortened. And I don't know, that makes me happy. You know what I'm about? And stuff. Now, I love seeing people come to the Lord. I'm talking about in the natural.
I know.
Okay, in the natural. When I get people that message me that watch some of these programs that we're doing now and say, you don't know what that done for my life. To hear what that person said. And that all makes me, but I still, man, when I can straighten up a container, or I can straighten up a shelf. I'm taking all this out today, and I've got new shelves that are going recessing back in here. You know what I mean? I was thinking about it. I was waiting on you, and I thought, can I get that shelf out before Jimmy gets here? And I thought, no, I don't want to get all sweaty.
Oh, man.
But I mean, you know, I think it's fun, man. I enjoy
great.
myself, and, you know, shoot. I just think, all right, well, let's talk about this then. We've talked about what makes you happy. Let's talk about money, okay? Mm-hmm. Money is, I believe that money, we trade our time for money and our money for stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the cycle of life. Yeah. Okay, our time for money and our money for stuff. Mm-hmm. You've been successful. Okay, you have been successful, and to be successful, you've raised your children, took care of your wife. Okay, in business, you've always done well. In ministry, you've done well. In your life, you've done well. It don't mean we don't have struggles. Everybody does, but you've done well. And so when you think about keys to that, and here's what I want to caution you on. I'm not talking about paying your tithes and giving in the offering and taking care of missionaries and supporting churches in Africa. Mm-hmm. We can all say that. That's really neat. Mm-hmm. But I know people that pay their tithes, give in the offering, support missionaries in Africa, they can't keep their power turned on. Mm-hmm. So there's some things that you've done, keys that you've done, that have caused you to be able to maintain your life. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So what are they?
Well, I try to watch my spending, mm-hmm. and do only those things that I, not that I want, but that I need.
Right.
And tighten things up, and bills come first, mm-hmm. and I try to have enough money to pay all my bills, and then after that, some of those things that you want a wife to go out and eat. Mm-hmm. You can do or take care of. But God has always blessed me to be able to cover my bases. Mm-hmm. And I've had miracles to happen in finances all of my life. Yeah. And I've just been unreal. Well, it's just been God. It's been the supernatural happenings. And when I get to where things are low or something, I say, Lord, you know, you got to take care of me. You always have, and you always will take care of me. And he always comes through. Mm-hmm.
But when you look, one of the things I think the advantages that you've had over a lot of people is you sold cars. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you know that a car is the worst investment you can have unless you're selling it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I haven't known you. I don't know if I've known you to have a new car. When's the last time you had a new car? See, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right? So see, you know that that's not a good investment.
Yeah.
But see, not everybody knows that. Okay? You can generally get a car that somebody's already lost their back end on. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I think this is important, I believe, in money. Because there's so many people that have, when it comes to vehicles, because you can buy one so easy, mm-hmm. now they finance them for 12 years. Okay, wow. I mean it's nothing. 120 months on vehicles now. So you're buying but what I mean is you get something that you really can't afford and you don't drive it, mm-hmm. you know, for 10 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You wait till you maybe it's worth as much as you owe on it, and then you trade again. Right. But I mean, I think there's a dead end.
Yeah, I've tried for the last several vehicles buy something with low mileage on it. I think mm-hmm. one of the vans we had 17,000 on it. Right. You know, and we run it up. Wait a minute. Last what was that? 2000. I bought a new van in 2000.
That's 24 years ago. Okay.
I bought 2000. And we ran it till it had 300,000 miles on it.
Was that the red van? Mm-hmm. Okay, I remember. My Lord, how can I remember that? I don't remember where my keys are, but I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, you did. You run that thing to death.
It just about to give us life for
I mean, you pulled a trailer with it. You used it. You destroyed it. Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, I use it in ministry. It's just about to give us life for Jesus Christ.
But when you think about vehicles, I think so many times people They buy. But you know what's good about the car business now? And I've got a friend of mine that used to sell cars that quit. Okay, because he said nowadays people know what a car's worth. Now with the internet and what we got, we can go on. We can Kelley Blue Book. Okay, or we can say, all right, and it'll tell us, is this a good deal or a bad deal? This is $500 over, or this is $500 under. You know, nowadays. And he said, it's not fair anymore. He said I can't sell a car like I used to because people know actually what they're worth now. And I think if you can, you know, I look at vehicles and I would love to have, there's a car that I would like to have, a Chevrolet Spark, it's called. They quit making them, but they get 40-some miles to the gallon. I would love to have another one. All they got's used ones now. And if I get a new, and the transmissions don't last, got that old CVC transmission in it, and it don't last. But if I get another one, I want to get a 5-speed. Because I feel like it'll last. And I've looked at them, and I've shopped on it, and I think that $200 a month the payment would be, and I said, I don't know. You know, my truck, new tires, new battery. I just had to put a new battery into the other day. $275 for a battery. It uses a special battery. That's a blessing. And new tires. And I'm thinking, I've got 130,000 on it, and it runs just fine. And so at this point in my life, I think I need to. I'm not saying I won't get a Spark, okay, but I'm fighting the urge, okay, because I don't need it, and I don't know if I want to pay for it. And you got to think about that. You really do. But I think that gives you the upper edge on a lot of that stuff. You understand that. Because that can ruin you.
Yeah, it does. And I've got an old truck. Well, in fact, I got it off of you.
A Jeep. That Jeep truck?
No, the gray Ford truck.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
And we use that for a mountain truck. Of course, I keep tags on it and whatever. And it's rusted out, but the motor, you put a new rear end in it before I got it.
Right.
And then put a transmission in it. The transmission was bad.
Yeah, it did. The 150. That
engine's good,
right.
And I'll run it till the wheels fall off of it.
Yeah.
I use it on the mountain. And Michelle says, well, you need to get a better truck or whatever for that. But for what we're using it for, it serves a purpose. As long as it keeps going, we'll keep going.
Well, you know, but I think that when we talk about it, cars can be the thing that really can ruin you.
It absolutely can.
It can ruin you. Yeah. You won't hardly go too bad buying a house, even if you can't, even if you're a little bit overpriced. If you'll wait, the value will come up. A property or a house or something. Usually you can come out pretty close, but that vehicle just right. Yeah, and I think sometimes too, having too many toys, it's easy to have too many toys to play with. Okay, and you get them, and then you just have stuff piled up, man. You just have it all piled up, and I don't know, you do it. All right, we've covered some easy stuff, but let's talk about this. If young Jimmy come up and knocked on the door and said, hey, what are y'all doing in the shed? And he come up and stood there. He's 18 years old, young Jimmy is, okay? And you had to give young Jimmy some advice on his life. Okay. Now, I understand this, and now I don't want to be rough on you with this. I understand you can tell him, young Jimmy, fall on your knees and give your life to the Lord. I got that. Okay. But I'm going to put more pressure on you. Okay. I'm not talking about his soul. I'm talking about his life and his decisions. What would you tell him?
First of all, I'd tell him to be honest with himself and others and his morals. And take care of his business and stuff with integrity. Operate everything in his life with excellence and integrity. And that'll give you a good future. And be honest in all your dealings. That's one thing I would tell anybody, because I see people that don't do that. And they end up in a mess. Their life will end up in a mess. But if you're just honest, and that goes, and people know that. I mean, it shows, it tells. It'll go. Your words will go before you. Before they'll get in your life, in places in your life before you do. And so if you operate in excellence and integrity in everything you do. It'll bring you out on top.
What would you tell him to invest in? What would you tell him to put his money at?
real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I'd tell him to put his money in real estate. And gold would work good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stock market's up and down. If you and the money market is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know what you're doing,
Right.
you can do well in that. But if you don't, you can get eat up fast.
You know, I spoke to a friend of mine who's been very successful in that area. And one of the things he said is, I've never wanted to be a trader. I only invest in good companies.
Mm-hmm.
And live off the dividends.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, he's a genius. Okay, but he said, in my life, I never wanted to be a trader. Mm-hmm. And he began to share with me, and he shared a lot of great things with me that really helped me. But he said, when I'm looking at something, I'm looking at a company and stock. Now, see, and when me or guys like us, we look at it different. We want to buy it for a penny and wait till it hits $1. Okay, which is, a fool's errand in the end for me. Okay, not for you, but I'm saying for me.
Yeah,
but I mean, he was so solid and shared with me and showed me what worked. Mm-hmm. But he said, I buy good companies, mm-hmm. and I research the people that run it, mm-hmm. and I research the company, and I buy into that company, mm-hmm. and I live off the dividends, mm-hmm. and he had been very successful at that, mm-hmm. and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at your life and talking to well, if we're talking to young Jimmy now, and we've got him here all hemmed up, okay, we got to talk to him about love. Mm-hmm. We got to talk to him about his heart and love, and that's a challenge mm-hmm. to say these are things to watch out for.
Yeah,
yeah, and that's not easy to do.
No,
I know. I would tell young John a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I'd tell him some of the girls stay away from. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? Don't go there. That's not good, mm-hmm. and stay. And there's things in life that we run into, man. I think about how, if we could look back, I would share with myself, and I think you would also, to enjoy your life too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Enjoy the times you can enjoy, mm-hmm. and take time and don't wait. Yeah. And do that. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I mean, I find that for me that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I could do it. I don't know. I would tell him to keep that Nova if it was young John. Hey, I used to have a nice Nova. Keep that. I had a Camaro, a convertible Camaro. I would have kept that. Mm-hmm. If we'd have kept some of those cars.
Oh, yeah.
That would go along.
Yeah.
All right. One more last thing I want to deal with, okay?
Right.
This is a hard one. If you had to say today, I want to be a better husband. Okay? I want to be a better husband. This is how I can improve. Now, if there is no way to improve, and I've had some people awful close on that. Lawrence was awful close on him. Couldn't really find a way to improve. But I mean, Mickey Hell hauled me. He sort of went into preacher mode. And I said, no, I mean, if you could be if I said today, what do you need? What do you think not what she said you need to do, but what do you think you need to do to be a better husband?
Wash my mouth, what I say. Uh-huh. Wash my attitudes. Right. And say be very thoughtful of what I say before I say it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think one thing would be with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think respect is. We have to be sure and respect the people we love.
And of course, I love her with all my heart.
Right.
I mean, my wife I have. She's awesome. But I think that would be one of my weakest points, is to watch my attitude and my words, and try to please her more, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Do you find yourself apologizing ever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize.
I do that too. Absolutely. I think that's important, don't you?
It is, and she does too. Yeah. We do that.
I think that's important. Brother Mickey, we talked about that. He said the longer you let things set, the bigger they get. It's like a tree you plant. Yeah. And if you let things set, instead of apologizing, be swift to apologize.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
And show respect. I mean, I really try to be careful. Okay, now we've dealt with some really cute spiritual stuff, but I mean, do you pick up your underwear and your socks? Mm-hmm. You pick that stuff if you don't leave it laying around?
No.
Okay, you don't. And I'm not asking about making the bed because I don't make the bed either. But do you sweep or vacuum? Do you do any kind of those things?
Not really.
I don't either. I don't know. What about washing dishes?
No.
I wash dishes. We don't have a dishwasher, and we almost argue over who's going to wash dishes sometimes. I like to do it. I don't know, something about it. It's just me and her, and I like washing this. Now, she don't let me a lot because I think I don't do good. Okay, but I think when respect.
That's what I get into when I do. I don't do a good job, you say.
Well, so improving, what you got to do, you're saying, is you got to ease up a little bit and be a little slower to say some things.
Yeah.
And be a little more understanding, patient.
Yeah.
And, I need to write this stuff down so I can give it to Michelle. I need to know what kind of commitment we're making.
Yeah.
All right? So, and we have to do that with people we love.
Yeah, we do.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes people can be crueler to people they love than other people.
Mm.
And we have to be careful with that. Yeah. Steve Branch, I love what he said one time. He said that he was telling me about, he said, his wife said, I wish you were as nice and thoughtful to me as you are to those people in the church.
Wow.
And he said, man, that destroyed me.
Wow.
And it made a lot of sense. He said, I looked at my life different and started saying, that makes sense.
Wow.
And we have to do that because it's easy sometimes to get wrapped up. And I don't know. I mean, I found it. For me, I try to work on it and be careful with it, not be, to be it's a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. And show respect. I try not to, at night I try not to leave a pop can or a wrapper or a piece of paper. I don't want her to get up in the morning and find anything out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, I try to do that. I pick up after myself.
Yeah.
I just always did that when I was home. I was always thought that way. And of course, in my own home, I try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't sweep. I've never swept or mopped. I've never done that. But I mean, other things I try my best to do. She won't let me run the washing machine. She won't let me do that. I think it's Lawrence does all the washing. He said, I don't do any of that. I can't figure all the buttons out on that thing. If it just said wash and something like that, but nowadays it's all this digital stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I can't figure it all out.
Last one he got was real complicated.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Jim, I sure appreciate you.
Sure.
Let's do this. Before we do this, let's do one more thing. Let's talk about one more thing.
All right.
Let's talk about our buddy Melvin Stout.
Oh, my.
I loved Melvin.
Oh, man.
And I miss him, don't you?
Oh, Lord.
I miss Melvin.
Every morning, usually I have a time of, when I get with God, I take about a 2-hour block of a morning. And that's when I pray and study. Mm-hmm. And Melvin always watched the weather of the morning.
Right.
And after I'd get done, I'd call him, or sometimes I didn't call him, he'd call me, and what's the weather going to be like, And after he went on to heaven, I thought about that several times. I could call him and ask him what the weather was like in heaven this morning.
Yeah.
But I talked to him about it every day.
Yeah.
And he was a blessing to our life. He helped me with stuff. That's right now I'm having a problem with him on the mountain mowing. Melvin always done the mowing up there, And I tried to take care of him too. He took care of me. And if we had a wash machine needed worked on, he'd work on it. A car needed worked on or whatever needed to be done. He'd just go ahead and do it, and I could go ahead and do something else. And but he was awesome. But I sure do miss that guy.
I've never seen anybody run a piece of equipment like he could run it. He could feel that blade.
Yeah.
He could run a dozer and feel the blade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And run it, and he'd get so mad at everybody else when they would get on it. Yeah. He never thought anybody else could run it. Yeah. No.
Oh, that big bridge going across from my house we drive across? It's a railroad car frame. And I bought that and had it delivered. And he took that big old dozer and put that thing in there. And he balanced that frame on that dozer blade and set that thing in place. I mean, that's genius.
Yeah.
That's a genius.
Yeah.
But he did. He kept pulling that, got under it, got down the creek, and he balanced that thing and put that thing in place on that dozer blade.
Yeah. And he would fuss about you or fuss about me, but always be there if we needed us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But he'd fuss. He'd fuss about me to me. You know, we would argue about things sometimes. Because, see, Melvin never believed there's steel in the Bible, metal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he ever talked that to you. He never believed that there was any metal. He thought, no, there's no way. He said there was no steel. There was not steel till later on. His dad was a blacksmith, and he'd tell me all this stuff. Now, it says these swords are in here, Melvin, these helmets and these... Nope, I don't believe it. We would argue about it all the time. We would argue about stuff.
Yeah, you'd tear him up about other stuff.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Had him going.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell you what we're talking about right now. We would argue about water baptism. I would find he would think one way, and I would just think another, just to argue.
Yeah.
We would get to argue, and I'd laugh about it. And then, you know, I would tell him about somebody getting saved. And he said, no way. There was no way. I said, Melvin, I mean, they said they come to the Lord. Yep, there ain't no way they made it. There ain't no way. I said,
all the rotten stuff they did.
Yeah. He would tell me all the time. He said, ain't no way. And I said, but what about when you used to grease the railroad tracks when you was a boy? And that train would come up the hill and it'd spin them engines out. Because he told me about that. And I said, what about when you go over and get them parts at the railroad? Well, now that's different. I said, yeah, what about this that you used to do? I said, we would go at it all the time. I loved him, though.
Oh, Lord, I did too. Yeah.
We could be riding down the road in that big old Kenworth I had, and he could drink a cup of coffee, eat a sandwich, change the gears, talk on the CB, and drive it at the same time. He would. One time when I first made my CDL, we were going somewhere to pick up a load of stuff. We left out that evening in that truck, and there's just way too many gears, okay? Way too many gears in the truck. And I would get lost. I'd be changing gears. I'd get lost, and I'd stop and start over. He'd get so mad he couldn't hardly stand it. He said, get mad. He'd come out of that sleeper fuming. Just let me drive, he'd say. You know, he would say. He'd say, let me drive. Yeah. And I'd say, no, I'm going to figure this out. You know, and I'd start over again.
Yeah.
You know, we'd break down somewhere on the side of the road in that old ragged truck, you know, and have to get out. Or he'd call me sometimes if he broke down. There'd be a wire loose somewhere or something like that, you know. And he'd figure it out eventually. He'd find
absolutely,
it. He'd find it. But I loved him. I really did. I miss him. I think about him. But I tell you what, the Lord extended his days, didn't he?
Yeah,
you know, did. Yeah, he extended his days.
He really did. Yeah,
and it's just hard to believe he's gone.
Oh man, yeah,
it really is. And there's people out there that we love, that we think about, that we do miss.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah,
good to be missed.
Yeah, and just like whenever I called you and told you that he'd passed, I remember what you said. Well, we know where he's at.
Exactly.
And
he talked about it all the time.
Yeah, and I've used that. I've used that a lot.
He really did. We knew where he went.
I know where he's at. Yeah.
And so I loved him, and that's important. It's important because a lot of people leave here and nobody cares, my friend.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. They leave and it doesn't make a bit of difference to some people. But and I hate to. I've always said if there's a few people standing there when they put you in the ground that really say, I'm gonna miss that guy. Mm-hmm. That you've done well.
Yeah.
You've really done well.
Another one I'm going to miss is your dad.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I love that guy.
I tell you, when Dad died, there was this big hole in my life of a day because I talked to him so much during the day. And when Fox News, when Tucker would come on, we'd call and talk. Or in the morning, we'd call and talk. And when he died, I thought, you know, I don't know what to do. And I tell you this something too, Jimmy. I never felt old till my dad died. And I thought about that. Until your dad dies, I mean, I didn't feel old because my dad was still around. So how do you feel old if your dad's still around? But when Dad died, in a month, I felt like I aged and got older, okay? Because my dad was no longer around. And that just, you know, that hit me. Like that. Wow. And I don't know, but we're passing through, my friend.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We're passing through.
And one of the days it'll be us too, brother.
Well, yeah. And that's the way I think about those things. My kids, you know, a while back I got them together and gave them things that I had, property, signed things over and gave it to them. I said, because your mama and I ain't leaving you nothing else. We ain't leaving you no money. We're going to spend the money. I said, we might leave you a credit card. You can pay it off if you want to, but not let them collect it. But I said, we're not going to leave you no money. And I think it's all right if you want to leave your kids money. I leave them money, but I ain't leaving them no money. We're spending it. And I said, I give them everything now. The house I live in belongs to Colson. I signed it, gave it to him and his wife, and I gave him all the property. I gave it to the kids and gave them. I said, this is the way I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you inheritance now. I don't want you thinking about it later, and I don't want you worrying about it after a while. Here's what it is. And there's one thing that I miss. I got a big Indian, one of them 7-foot tall Indians, and Kelsey has it. Because I gave her the house she's in, and she's got that Indian, and I wanted it, but I can't get it. She won't let me have it. And I really would like to keep that until I died, at least. But she won't let me have it. She kept it. And I can't. I'm a little bit scared of her, so I can't do anything about it. So, Jim, I appreciate you, buddy.
Likewise.
I really do. Yeah. You've always been a blessing. I can't think of a time you haven't been. I look forward to you coming here about as much as anybody I can think of. I said, Jimmy Dickens will like this stuff. I said, he will be, it is right up his alley.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I'd like to have a little bigger building. I wish you'd have made, I still got the sticker on the wall where I bought this building, back here behind you. It's still still back there in the back. What I gave for it, it's back there in the back.
Oh, yeah, I see
it's an 8-foot by 10-foot building. I can't remember what I gave for it. It was a lot. I can't remember, but it's back there anyway.
Be more than that now.
I don't take sticker off in case I need to sell it. I'll leave it on there.
Oh, Lord.
But anyway, well, I appreciate you watching. You're watching Just From The Shed. When I talk about doing this program, it's exactly for gentlemen like Jimmy sitting here. People who I believe they've lived a life and they've got a word that'll help you. Take it to heart. And just like you were standing at Harvard and the professor was standing up before you, he couldn't give you words of wisdom like Jimmy could give you. And that's what he shared with you today from his heart to you. It's up to you to take it and do what you want. Well, God bless you. Thank you for watching Just From The Shed. Adios.
All right.
Oh, it's a good day.